Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for another Totango webinar. Today's session is going to be focused on tips and tricks to take your Totango skills to the next level. So we'll sort of walk through a Totango as a whole, and I will try to point out some of the kind of the hidden gems and hidden nuggets that are available to you within Totango. Just a housekeeping item, we will have some time at the end to take some questions. So as you watch the webinar, please feel free to type in your questions in the question box, and we will answer them. And we'll also be sending out a recording after this, so stay tuned for that. Along with an announcement of the next series of webinars that are going to be launching on September 3rd. So there's already one planned for September 3rd, and we'll also be communicating new webinars and new topics coming. After the webinar, there's going to be a quick opportunity for you to provide feedback to us, so feel free to take just a minute and give us your feedback, maybe jot down some topics that you're interested in hearing about in our future webinars. Please share. All right, so with that, we will proceed. So some of you already know me. I'm Customer Success Manager here. I was actually one of the original CSMs to be brought on board, and passionate about the industry and enjoy working with all of you. Feel free to email me directly as well if you have any questions after we end this webinar session. So as for the agenda today, we will review some of the hidden gems and active lists. We will also talk about how to visualize your trend data and reports. So we'll build a report within Totango. And then I want to touch on a little bit on the metrics and how to potentially expose some of the key metrics in your scorecard. There's going to be other items that I'll cover as we go through to give you kind of a comprehensive overall view into the hidden areas and hidden nuggets of Totango. And we will try to cover as much of that as possible in this session. Again, if you have questions specifically on any key items that I review, you can also reach out to your CSM directly, and they will help walk you through it in greater detail. So with that, I'm actually going to jump directly into the Totango instance that I have. It's a demo instance that we use for our webinars. So as you know, when you log in, the first thing you'll see is your portfolio and all the other sections. So one quick thing I wanted to give you as a tip here, not necessarily for a customer success manager per se that is responsible for reviewing and processing all their notifications on a day-to-day basis, but this is maybe for someone who is on a management team and does look at a portfolio, but doesn't necessarily need to process every single notification one by one like this. There is a bulk action feature here, which is not completely obvious. That's why I wanted to highlight it. If you do want to dismiss everything in one shot and clean your plate, you can do it in one shot over here just by clicking dismiss all notifications, and basically everything that is in your notification center will be removed, and you'll have essentially a clean plate to work with. So that's a quick tip for you, for anyone who has a need to get things cleaned up or is in a management team and doesn't necessarily need to process things one by one. Another quick tip here, most of you, if you're CSMs, when you log in, you will already by default see your own portfolio, but if for some reason you don't see an accurate representation here, or if you are on a management team and do need to look at other segments of customers and you don't necessarily own accounts yourself, you can adjust that using the little settings wheel here and define what is the scope of the account base that you're looking for. In my particular definition, I'm looking at all paying customers, but maybe if I wanted to focus on a specific contract value, for example, that is above a particular amount, I can do something like this, and I can say, that the contract value is above, let's say, $1,000. So that's something you can do, and you can really use any type of attribute that is sent to Totango, and when you use the little drop down here, you will see what your options are. Some of our customers focus on specific territories or regions of the world, and this is something that can be done for them to just look at a particular region for a profile. So that's a quick tip for that. Moving on, so the next piece that I wanted to cover, as I mentioned in the agenda, is the capabilities within active lists. There are a lot of options there, and sometimes kind of the cool little things are not completely obvious, so I wanted to highlight some of these. So if I actually create a new list, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to build an account list here really quick. And what I wanted to look at is my paying customers. So as you see, I have a lot of filters that are brought up for me as suggested filters. If there's ever anything missing, you can just expand to more account filters, and that will give you capabilities to leverage everything that is available to you. As you note here, there's a lot of new items. So custom metrics, this is the new capability that we have that is part of our Professional Pro Plus package. And if you don't have metrics available yet, I would encourage you to discuss this with your CSM to see how you can take advantage of this new cool feature. And then tasks. So now with the tasking capabilities, we also have a way to report on tasks that are being done or overdue or open. So that's another way for you to filter. So these are a couple of new things I wanted to highlight before I build my list. So if I wanted to start with something fairly simple, I'm going to look at status type. I'm going to look up my paying customers. I also want to look at customers that are, at least of $1,000 in contract value. Contract value is getting typically sent to us from either, your CRM tool, most likely Salesforce if you're using Salesforce, and the value is either MRR or annual value, depending on what you decided to send to us as an organization. So I will choose this, and then I also want to make sure that I'm looking at customers that are in a particular health rank. So this is something I can do, and I'm looking to focus on customers that are in good health because I want to invite them to a webinar where I want to have them participate in a roadshow, and I want to make sure that I reach out to customers that are in good shape with us at the moment. So what I'll do, I'll click on OK. I'll get my results after the list loads. So I have 48 customers that fit my profile filter conditions. At this point, what I wanted to show you really quick, as you can see, there's a set of defaults that are available to you as far as the default columns.
Okay, perfect. I think everybody's back on track. Again, apologies. I know we're sort of through most of the webinar, and I'm not sure at which point we lost audio, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and then again we can do another follow-up and refresh if needed for everybody. So what I was doing previously is I was in an active list, and I was showing you the capabilities that we have for edit columns. Basically, you can bring in any data point that is important to you. What I brought in is the number of active users, because I was intending to reach out and do a roadshow and invite my most engaged customers that are in good health and that have a lot of active users. And that's what I did. And then I also showed the grouping capability where you can actually group by success manager, so that when you do your outreach, you can actually focus on the specific customer success manager, and they can do their outreach and invite their own customers to this cool roadshow that we're hosting. So that's available. Also, exporting capabilities are available to you, so you can actually export a list if you wanted to. And if you ever need to, you can also set up email triggers. I would say this is relevant when you're looking to get some sort of an alert for a specific active list that you created. Maybe there's a decline in usage, or maybe a drop in license utilization, things like that, where you can actually specify and notify email address where you will receive an email note whenever a new account enters the list that meet the conditions. So I think somebody mentioned that you guys got cut off at building a list. So what I can do is I can quickly recreate a list, but I'll actually create a different list for you for a different use case that I was thinking of doing today. So let me go back to accounts. And the next thing I wanted to do is actually identify accounts that are fit into specific health conditions. And what I want to do is actually I want to focus on customers that are not doing so well with my product. So basically what I'll do, I'll build a list and I will identify customers that are in poor health. And so instead of good, it will be poor. And when I click on OK, I will see all my poor health accounts. I will remove the grouping. And so now I have a list of customers that are not doing so well with me. What I can do, I'll save it. So I will call it webinar and poor health. And I will actually put it in a folder. You have an ability to set up specific folders for yourself. And that keeps things organized for your team. And I can actually make this a private list, or I can share it. So private means that you will be able to see the specific list you're creating. And the scope here, that's also a neat one to keep in mind. So you can define active lists to be all accounts, or you can specify only accounts that I manage. So the difference here is if you set it up as accounts that I manage, whenever anybody logs into a list and looks at it, if they are an assigned customer success manager or sales manager, they will only see accounts that they manage. So they wouldn't need to actually have different lists for themselves. They can rely on just one baseline list that is created for everybody and scope to only accounts that I manage. So this is a really neat one. And if you have any questions on this one, we'll be happy to give you more clarification, but take advantage of it. That saves you a lot of work if you are trying to build multiple lists for multiple owners. So now that I have my list of webinar poor health accounts, one thing that I wanted to highlight as a quick tip is a follow capability. So if there's ever an interesting list that you're interested in knowing and keeping up with, you can actually follow it. And following means you will actually get a daily email with kind of the summary of what is going on to that list. So that's a quick one that you can use. So now that I have this active list available to me, I can build other lists from it. So if I'm trying to set up some sort of baseline, my webinar, and these are my poor health accounts, but if I want to also identify and drill down further and actually find out what other issues are happening to my poor health accounts. So maybe my poor health accounts with low usage would be my next list. So I will save it as a new list. And what I'll do when I edit the filters, instead of using this health rank, I will actually use the in-list capability. And this is another cool nugget for you. It's available in here in the suggested filters, and it's also available as you expand to more filters. We have is in-list and not in-list capabilities. So you can actually use the in-list capability, and you can specify the list that you're looking to add in this baseline. And this is the one that I have, so webinar poor health. And then also what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if there's another negative condition affecting health. So I'm going to specifically use my license utilization in this particular example, like low usage. So I will say that the license utilization is no more than or equal to, let's say, 20% in the last 14 days. When I click on OK, I will now not only have my accounts that are in poor health, but also accounts that are in poor health and also have lower than 20% license utilization in the last 14 days. So now I know there's this problem area that I need to tackle and address with my team and my accounts. So I'll save that. And now I have another active list. So something that can be leveraged and something I wanted to show you is how we can build reports from active lists that we have set up. So now that I have this one, and I have a couple more that I created, what I'll do, I will go into reports and I will visualize the information and I will see trends. So what I'll do, I'll create a report and I will add segments. So adding segments simply means you're actually selecting the active lists that you have built in the past. So what I'll do, I'll select my webinar poor health low usage as one, and I can change the color. I can actually change the description and the name of this. So I'll remove the poor health, but I'll just leave the low usage for myself, and I'll make it red. And then there's other lists that I have. So I have, other specific active lists that I can use. So there's another one here that I'm going to add, and I can edit it as well. So this one is the one that has low active days. That's another problem for me because I want my customers to be active many days. And there's another one that I have that has a low usage of reports. So, customers that haven't used the reports as much as I would like them to. So I can pick another color and click on OK. And now I have 3 segments that I can also visualize as trends. And then I can also add components. So if I want to focus on specific component as an attribute, this is essentially anything that you're sending to Totango. You can use that information to slice your report by. So I want to actually slice it by my success manager so I can identify which success manager has particular focus issues with their customers. So I will give it a name for health, and I will save this. And now I have my representation. So I have information about specific segments of customers and where my problems are. So I can actually adjust this to be a percentage. Sometimes that gives a little bit more insight as to where the heaviest problems lie. And it looks like our low usage, which is the one that we had with low license utilization, is the most problematic area for us. So maybe I want to make sure that I focus on this first. I can also see the representation of my success managers and what is the distribution of what problem area each one is tackled with. So that's kind of a neat way for you to create specific active lists as segments and then visualize them in reports with the intent of actually identifying what areas need help or need focus. And then from there, you can build a plan to execute. So in my particular case, what I want to do is I want to execute a success play for customers that have low usage, which for me is low license utilization, and I want to build a success play from that. And success plays is something that we have as part of our Pro Plus package as well. So if you don't currently have that or are interested in starting to leverage that, I would encourage you to reach out to your customer success manager and get the details on how to get that enabled. But if I wanted to start leveraging this and actually execute and have my outreach program set up to engage customers with low license utilization, I can create a success play. I can actually specifically embed the list that I created, so I don't have to recreate the logic for it. So I can just say this one, and the one that we used was low license utilization here, and this will be my criteria for my success play, and it will actually give me a preview of how many customers fit into the segment, who is going to be affected. I can give this a name and a description, and when I launch my success play, the accounts below, for the accounts below, the customer success manager responsible for them will get a task assigned to execute some sort of process. And the process could be, reach out to the key contact or the key champion of an account and discuss how to potentially expand the usage of your product and maybe offer some potential value in that conversation so that they can see what is it that they're missing by not taking advantage of the cool and awesome product that you have. So I know we're approaching the end of the webinar. I do apologize for the technical glitch that we had. We can embed some of these tips and tricks in our future webinars. We do have specific topics arranged to cover some of these areas in more detail. And I think we'll cover some ground next time. And if, of course, you have questions specific to anything that I covered or any more questions directly for me, please reach out. Otherwise, your customer success manager will be happy to walk you through anything that we didn't cover today. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Apologies for the technical issues, and we will speak again soon. Thank you so much.